Welcome back to the Dad Podcast. On today's guest, we have Mr. Robbie Butler. Don't forget to check in on our sponsors. Many thanks for your support. Welcome back, everyone. As you can see, I've got a familiar face on the camera today, so we'll do the old mind your bath thing, Robbie.
Let's bring it in, brother.
Or we're not going to do I'm Robbie and you're Marty, no?
Oh, but I mean, it took us about 3 or 4 episodes to get it right, Marty.
Stop record, press record, stop.
And we didn't get it right there because I'm straight in with a fist near Marty, I'm Robbie. We are mind your bath.
It's been a little while, so it has, but no, I really appreciate you coming on, and getting a good chat. So at times we're like passing ships in the night, aren't we? Trying to get this one recorded. You're either busy or I'm busy, and it's just it hasn't suited. So it's good to finally get you on.
Life is busy, Marty, and I know you have been doing this. You've obviously got the business, you've got the family, and the demands on kind of all of us at the minute. The way society is set up at the minute is it's intense, isn't it?
It is indeed, mate. It's getting quite scary out there for a lot of people as well, and it's we're just a wee bit unsure where we're going. So hopefully something cool comes out of it soon, but we'll find out, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're bringing you on today just to have a general chat, about being a father, but we're also going to talk about some of your experiences as well. So again, for anyone that might know you, Robbie, the very few that won't, could you introduce yourself to me?
Sure, no problem, Marty. Thanks very much for having me on, and thanks for doing the podcast. Men's health, mental health is something both me and you've been passionate about for a long time. And so I think, for those who don't know me, my name's Robbie Butler. I'm a politician. I'm an Ulster Unionist in LA. I serve Lagan Valley and have done now for as a councillor since 2014-15, and then as an MLA from 16 through till today for the Ulster Unionist Party. And I suppose mine and your paths first crossed with regard to me being this mental health.
Correct.
And probably the first political spokesperson in Northern Ireland speaking about mental health, which was a real honour. And like yourself, didn't come at it from a clinical practitioner background, but just as someone who cared about other people and the impact of poor mental health. So yes, and the podcast is about dads and fatherhood. So I have the absolute privilege of being a dad to 2 kids. So I'm married for 26 years this year, Marty. 26 years I'm married with Linda. So we're blessed to have 2 kids. So Robin is my daughter. She's 24 in December. And then my son, Adam, he will be 22 next February. So he's 21. So I've got those 2 kids and I'm very, very proud of them. And then, as I've said, I don't know if anybody has watched the program called This Is Us, but there's a lovely wee program on Netflix called This Is Us, and we've watched it right through, me and my wife. So we've got the family that we made together, and then we've also been just recently, about a year and a bit ago, then I'm taking on the family that we chose. And what I mean by that is we have for 17 years fostered different kids. We've had the absolute privilege of having maybe about 40 to 45 kids through our door over 17 years. But last June, we took into our home 3 brothers and sisters.
Brilliant.
They are 3, 5, and 7, 3 siblings, and they will be with us now until they're adults. So we have a family that we made, and we have a family now that we chose. And I suppose we can maybe talk a wee bit about that if you want. That's just, and I know you've maybe talked about this, Marty, in the past with your own family background, that there are different types of fatherhood and being a dad. There's different people can fulfill different functions, and it's really important. Really is. The role of a dad or father is critical, I think.
Yes, 110%. And I actually bumped into you one day, if you can remember, one Saturday afternoon. You were putting your hair out, having a wee bit of a back and forth with a few people on Twitter. And I think I was a common voice to you that day, but I've seen the mayhem that you've now took on again, 7, 5, and 3. It's a nice wee split, isn't it? But I'm sure it's tough at times.
The funny thing is, me and Belinda obviously had Adam and Robin, so we had 2, and they were split. There was 2 years between them, roughly, just over 2 years. And so we had 2, and 2. Parenthood isn't easy. Being a dad isn't easy. Being a mum isn't easy. So having the 2 and getting them up, and I have to say, when we got them, Robin and Adam, up to the point where they were university and self-sufficient, had their own wee cars, and we weren't doing the wee daddy taxi thing, it was brilliant. I'm gonna be honest, it was absolutely brilliant. Me and Belinda had got this wee space And we've been together 20 years at this stage, I suppose. We're really enjoying each other's company, able to get out for holidays and get out and do your own thing. And then this opportunity obviously presented itself.
Yeah.
And it was a big decision for us to take, because we'd sort of done what we thought we were going to do, which was do our very best, by Robin and Adam, and then kind of, enjoy our years. But, in Northern Ireland at the moment, Marty, there are over 3,000 children in care. Yeah. So, when COVID first hit, there was about 2,600 and something. Now that's up. It's up to over 3,000. So if anybody's watching and they've ever thought about fostering or adopting or that type of stuff, I would encourage anybody to go and look a bit more and consider doing it, and even try it. Yeah. Because, people say, well, you haven't got the time, and I understand that. But when me and Belinda did it, we were both working. It was, Belinda was nursing. She wasn't a nurse at the very start. Belinda did her studying for to be a nurse. She did exams, lots of stuff. And there was still a function that we could perform in the short-term respite and emergency fostering, which helps full-time foster carers and, carers too. And it's very fulfilling. But as you said, you met me in the town one day, pulling my hair out. But it's tough. Like parenting tough. Fostering and adoption is tough as well. But very fulfilling.
No, I'm sure it is, and as you said, if anyone's sort of interested in that, again, you've shown, you guys have took on a wee family of 3 now, and again, that nice spread of age. But yeah, initially, again, what did you say, it was a bit of respite, not the initial family that you've took on now, but before that was a respite for kids, yeah. So
when I said we fostered for 17 years, the qualification for that should be that it was emergency respite in the short term that we did. So we never did had any kids long term. I think the longest we had any children was about 8 weeks, 9 weeks. Okay. And very often we fulfilled the function of maybe a week or a fortnight or 3 weeks. And in essence, what you were doing is some family who had fostered full time, you were giving them respite, and it meant that they could, the husband and wife or whatever the family setup was there, could go and have a break together at a time, and that allowed them to charge their batteries. So
it's very vital. That is very vital, because yourself, even as a father, again, when you get that little break, as you said, you end up getting a long break there. But when you do get a little break, as I was saying, we get a Sunday, and when we get that Sunday, taken away, if my mum's busy or whatever, you do feel it there, because it comes to the end, sort of in the middle of the week, you're starting to be a bit more tired than usually are and things. But that respite's very vital, isn't it?
Well, it is. It is. I'm going to say this. It's not controversial for this podcast.
Yeah.
But it's a reality, and it's one of the things that I think men are going to have to face up to. And it's one of those things, Marty, we have been challenging through the mental health piece and the prevalence of mental health and suicide in young men. In most of these cases where the kids are in care, the dad's absent.
Yeah.
The dad isn't there.
Yeah.
More often than not. And obviously, mum obviously has some issues or things to her. Maybe mum is absent, but in the majority of those cases, dad's absent. There's no dad. Most cases it's because dad has chosen not to be there, as opposed to any other, like more tragic circumstances. And some fellas, some dads have decided that either they're not fit to be a dad, they're not fit to be a father, or they're afraid of it. And that really saddens me, because the role of a real sort of role model type dad, father, is instrumental in building any young person's life, be that a young boy or a young girl. I mean, the role of a dad has just been undervalued for many, many years.
Yeah.
The cost to society is huge.
I agree. And what we'll do? Actually, we'll talk about our first topic. Then I suppose on that note, like, what makes a good dad? That's something I want to speak about, isn't it? And again, I'm sure we'll have different opinions, but again, maybe similar opinions on it. But yeah, dads are very important. I think, as you said, I think we've been undervalued, if I'm honest. It's quite a stressful role, obviously, as well. I know being a parent stressful, but in terms of being a dad, I think we take on different responsibilities. Myself personally, I don't know why I would have took on this breadwinner image, that I have to be the perfect breadwinner, and if I'm not performing, I'm letting everybody down, and that itself brings a lot of pressure, because you're kind of going, yourself, you'll sit some days and go, what happens if that happens? You just start letting your mind go, and then you have to catch yourself on at times. But yeah, what makes a good dad, in your opinion?
Well, I don't want to get too much into the psychology of it, but I'm actually
Yeah.
listening to a lot of podcasts and reading a little bit about the role of the dad and the man, and particularly within a relationship, excuse me, and in that parenthood piece. So obviously, traditionally, a lot of us get sucked into the male hunter-gatherer, macho, whatever. And you know something, society's a little bit hardwired that that's the case. But last year, a juxtaposition of a question, is a man any less because he says, I'm going to be a stay-at-home dad, and allow his wife or partner to go out and earn the crust? Society would look at that and go, why is he doing that? Is there something wrong?
Yeah.
When in essence, what we should be saying is that's brilliant. That's really good. That just might be the best thing for that house. And that might be the best thing. He might be the best fit within that house to do that, because that dad might have the gifts that are needed for those kids. And, it might be better for mum to be more professional and whatever. And obviously different households will work that out. But at a level in society, it's still frowned upon, Marty.
Yeah.
So me and you are from a generation, I'm a wee bit older than you, but we're not that far off in terms of where society is facing that the role model that we would have been fed, whether through the media, for the TV, through the films, through growing up, was that the dad went out and got the money, and then maybe went out and had a drink on a Friday and Saturday night, and did the football coupons and read a paper and didn't speak to anybody, and that was and in essence, that might have worked 100 years ago, or 50 years ago, or 40 years ago. And you think when there was a higher propensity that you had to go to war and type of things like that, men's lives were expendable because men go to war. There's the society shift and the opportunities that have presented themselves. We as a society, we haven't caught up. So I think that for me, what makes a good dad is a dad who's present and available. So forgetting about how good you'll be at things and how much you know and how much you can impart. And I remember I said this about looked after kids and the dad's not being there, not being available and stuff. I'm not tarring and mauling brush. But in reality, I think if dads are there and dads are available, whether they get it right or wrong, that is the most important thing.
100%, and definitely being available. Made the mistake, and Alex is only 3, I suppose. I want to say his early years, but initially, if not being around as much, and then again that puts stress on Nicky, and then puts stress on our relationship and things. But again, I say not being around as much, working too much, being out, and it actually took Nicky to sort of, I think I've said this before, say to me, how many nights have you been home this week? And I'll go, 1. Okay, we'll go worry the other way. So like, well, working that night, football that night, and then I kind of just had to come to the realization that I was basically taking the piss, But again, at my time, when I'm thinking, as you said, I'm in that hunter mindset. We got a great opportunity then with Activora to go and start hunting and making good money. And to me, that just took over. It just, my mind went then and said, well, I'm doing my job, I'm providing. But there's a lot more to being a dad, as you've said as well. Being present is one, and I'm very, very conscious of that. Where, like, we were talking there off camera, I took the morning off. But you've asked me, will I get it off? It's very hard for me to not look at that phone and do things on it. When I'm on holidays, even I was taking phone calls, at night and different things, and it's hard to switch off. So I am very conscious of being present. I mean, you're a busy man yourself. You said you're a politician, Robbie. You have a lot of stuff going on, but being present is so important. And like giving that little lad of mine, for instance, if I give him time to play our wee stories that we'll have, we 2 figures, we're walking to the shop, all this sort of imagination things. It's an imagination play or something it's called. He loves it. But if I give him that 10 minutes, that wee lad's made up, or if I sit and watch one of his Sonic programs or something like that. So I am very conscious, at the end of the night, I'll get a message from Nicky, what time's home? And that gives me the reminder, right, leave. Most nights, got to get that reminder to leave, to come home. But being present is very important, isn't it?
It really is important. And
it's hard as well.
It's hard. I think it's probably, there's levels to this.
Yeah.
And I think being present is definitely the most important. And then if I look back at, particularly with Robin and Adam, my own 2 kids, I was present quite a bit, maybe not enough, but the bit that I regret is when I was present, I wasn't concentrating on them.
Yeah.
So, and I don't mean wrapping myself up in the world of my child and spoiling my child to the point where they think the world revolves around them, because I wouldn't be that. I don't think that's good. But I know, for instance, like I was running a football team, so the football team had this amount of priority. I was in the PTA, the Parent Teachers Association, and I felt valued there. But I was selling it to myself as if I was doing it for my kids. I was going to be in the PTA to help my kids. But then when I actually put into the playtime of my kids, I didn't find enough playtime with them. So I might have been there. I was able to pick the kids up quite a bit from school because I was working shift work. I either worked in the prison service or the fire service over those kind of the biggest part of those years. So I had availability to pick them up, kind of try and do homeworks and stuff. But in reality, if I do have a regret, it was that I didn't have enough. So I was present with them, but I was also distracted when I was there. So I had said, right, I'm going to be in the room.
Yeah,
I'm going to be available to pick them up, and I'll kind of be there for them. And I would say I was there for them emotionally to a bit, but when I look at the relationship with their mum now and they go to their mum every time, So then I can look at that, and I don't critique the kids for that at all. I would critique myself and say, well, there's something that I just didn't. Now they will come to me and they'll say some things, but in essence, when they call their mum, because their mum always found that wee bit more time for them than I do.
Yeah, I know. I understand that, and even like I'm fighting so many small battles with Alex at the minute, mummy's obviously favourite, of course she is, mummy. But I got him to say the other day, I said to him, who's your best friend? And he goes, Daddy. And I was like, that was a small win. That's took me like, let's say 2 years of brainwashing this lad that he's my best friend. I'm your best, you're my best friend here. But he finally let out that him and my mum came and said, tell Nanny who you said your best friend was. And he says, Mummy. So he was like, what were you telling me? Well, he told me 10 minutes ago his best friend.
Yes.
But even like Alex is now 3, as I've said, he's getting to that stage now. Like I think I would have smothered him, would have kissed him and hugged him too much, and he obviously cracking up and telling me to go away and things. Where I've kind of now have to step back a wee bit because I don't know why. I just feel like I just want to give him loads of love. I don't know. It's a strange thing.
It's funny you say that. I mean, that's what I used to do with my kids too. I would have literally smothered their face with kisses, and they hate this one, and they hate me sharing it. And people say, ugh. But when they were really little, at a lick their face, at a lick their eyes a little bit, and lick the cheek, and they'd have been, get off. But that's how much I loved them. I loved them so much that I could eat them almost, if that makes sense. I just was so, and I'm very proud of how they've grown up, and and so here, I could say that I absolutely regret maybe not being more intentional and doing the playtime, and probably yes, except to say I'm very proud of how it's turned out. So when Alex is 20 or whatever, and I'm sure you'd be very proud of him. Just remember that if you live with a regret and you went back and changed it, they might not be that person you are then. 100%. You know what I mean? So I mean, Robin did her degree and she's a nurse like her mum, and that's what she wanted to do. And Adam has just finished his English literature degree and he's got a job there recently with PwC. So they're doing what they want. They're successful where they want. They've got pretty good habits, in terms of, they're not big drinkers. They're not neither smoke. They keep reasonably fit, and they've got ambition.
Yes.
And Robin, she's getting married next year.
Yep.
Now, I'm not suggesting that all of those are the markers of success, but what I'm saying is that's for them. That's kind of what they want to pursue. So we did encourage them to go down the route of education, A levels and degree. Now, the reality about that, Marty, is because Wimbledon because we didn't do that.
Yeah.
Because we maybe
understand that.
Yes, we thought we maybe missed out and we should have done it. In hindsight, we maybe could have left them a wee bit more flexibility to decide, but at the same time, it's nothing that'll harm them. It'll do them good, and they have this ethic of learning, and learning leads to opportunities leads to personal growth, whether that's you're chasing the money, whether you're chasing success in your chosen workspace, whether you're it's meeting people or whatever.
Yeah. Do you find that kind of push to go to like the university line comes from your background, if that makes sense? Because I'll give you an example. Like when I was younger, my mum, when I was 16, my mum's thing for me, so that I would have a better opportunity than what she was to become a tradesman. So if I got a trade, my mum's opinion, I'd always have that behind me. But unfortunately for my mum and my hands, I can't use them. I'm better with this, I'm good with that tool, I'm good with that too. But again, so that's kind of why I've ended up doing what I'm doing. But my mum's opinion was, right, get a trade and you'll do better than what I've done, basically. Do you think, again, I call like trying to break the mold as such, we're both working in class backgrounds. So, I mean, I've heard this before, like, dads sending their kids to university is a big honor for them, because something that, again, you've said, like, you've never done yourself when you were younger, did you? When you left school,
No.
You didn't go to university?
I
Me neither.
didn't.
Me neither,
No GCSEs, no A levels,
Yeah.
So, and Belinda didn't do a degree until she did nursing. So nursing was her degree. I did do a degree when I was in the fire service. I was in my 40s when I did the degree.
Yeah.
But when I left school, I didn't believe that I genuinely didn't think that was clever. I was in I went to Liston School. I was in like the A class, if you like, and whatever. But I genuinely, didn't equate that with being clever or anything like that. I didn't think that. So I've seen these people that were going to university and all, and I thought they must have been like rocket scientists and all these clever those people. But eventually in life, you find that we're all the same, and most of it's down to how hard you work. So all I wanted to do, Marty, was earn money, as in because I knew that if I didn't earn money, I wouldn't have money, and I wanted to have a car.
Yeah.
That was the sum total of my ambition when I was 16, is to work.
Yeah.
And I was already working in a butcher shop at that stage. I've shared this many times. And then I did my apprenticeship as a butcher, and I served my time. It wasn't necessary to have the trade. It was, but part of it would have been, and I just fell into it. So I had no ambition. I thought, well, the best that'll maybe happen is I'll maybe own my own shop at some stage. And that was an ambition, I suppose, maybe as I worked in the shops and stuff. But like yourself, I'm probably a better talker than I am a writer.
You definitely are.
But so where my kids were concerned in terms of trying to channel them down there's no doubt, it was my experience and Belinda's experience. So for Belinda to be a nurse, she had to complete a degree. Yeah. For me to succeed in the fire service at a managerial level, I needed to do a degree. So they're already and this is, so if I'm thinking, well, I had to do a degree in my 40s to get the next stage in the fire service. Belinda had to do a degree. Why don't, and all these young people are doing degrees. Obviously, it's better for our kids if they go and do a degree.
Fantastic.
And the other thing about doing it was do it early, do it young, and have it in the bank, because nobody can take it away from you.
Yeah, so true.
And you're already in that mode of learning where if me and you was to say, right, we're going to do a degree tomorrow, we would have to reboot our brain completely, get into the zone. And that would take a time, Marty. That would take a challenge, So, yeah, I think it was down to do it now. Yes, you can do it at any stage in your life, but do it now. You have it in the bank. And it doesn't mean that you have to pursue that the rest of your life.
Yeah.
But you can also go back to it. And I think both of them have enjoyed the experience of and the pride of having achieved as well.
Fantastic. And again, something that you didn't do when you're younger, as I said, like I had a mentor there, from Andy Town, basically. Long story short, he went from basically sleeping head to toe with his brothers and sisters in bed back in the day, as they all went. And we had a conversation one day, and he got lucky. Remember the first crash? He had sold his house just before that, got a bit of money, and was able to buy this massive house in the Maroon Road, basically, and things. Long story short, he sent both his kids, sent both his ones to university, and he was so proud of us again, because what he thought he had broke the mold, and I know he's stuck in my brain. That's kind of why I'd asked you, but like even yourself, if you can think back when you were leaving school, as you said, you wanted to earn money, but what did you think you'd be doing now, if that made sense, leaving school?
Yeah. So, I suppose when I was 16, it was, get a car, get a girl, that'll do. And then in my early, like when I was maybe turning 20, my ambition was to, at some stage, maybe have my own shop. So I was working up at the stage for a guy called Gerald Kane, and the sum total of my ambition was to own that butcher shop at some stage in Knockmore. And it's difficult. I mean, you run a business, Marty. Running a business is not for the faint-hearted, And I would say in some ways I'm glad that I don't own that shop now, because of the way it goes up and down, and you can have a really good time, and then you can just hit something like mad cow disease or things to get there. But as you say, you meet people and stuff, and things change. So one of the things that I have been blessed with is that I don't have this. I know maybe there's some people out there who say you need to get this fixed and you need to aim for it, and that's what it is. Well, mine's never been that. I've always just wanted to be better at what I do, not the best, just better, stronger,
not the strongest, but stronger, not the best, but better, and that type of stuff. So met people and they just maybe, you know, when I went from being a butcher to being a prison officer, it was just because someone had said to me, do you fancy, there's a good job there, it's maybe better than you're doing, do you fancy that? It's you know, it was better holidays for a start. There was sick pay. If you were off sick, you didn't lose your best pay. So, and that was an interesting experience, 4 years there. And then someone again, my best friend said, why don't you try the fire service? It's a good job. Now, this is an interesting one because I genuinely thought, I knew a guy who had went to Wallace, who didn't get into the fire service because he failed the test. I remember saying to this guy, I never passed the test. This guy is real clever. And he said, that's not how it works. So did the test and ended up in the fire service and reasonably successful. You know, I promotions and really enjoyed it, Marty. The job I'm in at the minute, obviously, is totally different. And I'm very proud of what I do, by the way. And I know we get a slating and a slagging for the way government is in Northern Ireland, but in terms of what I do and what my office does, it fills me with a sense of pride. And in terms of that, at the cost of my kids, by the way, because their dad, their father, is in the public eye.
Obviously. I'm sure that brings its stresses, obviously.
Yes. Well, even the first time putting posters up, I was deadly aware. 7 or 8 years ago, deadly aware that it wasn't just embarrassing me, it was embarrassing my kids.
Yeah, they have to drive around basically the whole of Lisburn and see your face.
Sadly for them, it seemed to be on their bus route right into school.
Was that intentional, maybe? Look at that.
No, well, maybe the ones right outside the bus stops were, but so. But again, I mean, this is again the role model. So if you think about it, when I was a butcher, we had Robin. Is that right? Am I saying 90? Yeah, 98. So I was a butcher when Robin was born. Then we had both kids when I was in the prison service and the fire service. And I'm deadly aware at that stage. So even the work ethic. So what the kids say. So, you know, I've said, yes, it's really important to be there and to be available and to be intentional about that and be in person. But also, what your children are learning off you in terms of your work ethic and where it comes in terms of your totem pole of priorities. It should never come at the top, but it certainly has its part to play. You know, in providing for the family. And I mean, we would have been, you know, if we went on holidays for the kids, they were always aware that the holiday only existed because mommy and daddy had worked really hard.
Yeah, that's very important.
Yeah, and similarly at Christmas. Santa's brilliant and Santa's a great benefactor, but Santa gets paid.
Yeah,
you know,
and he's expensive.
Santa's expensive. You know, he's a brilliant guy. You know, where I think traditionally people were saying Santa was a great benefactor, just brought bags of toys and they just magically appeared. Not sure that's a great thing to be sharing with kids.
Yeah. So again, I'm very cheap, so I don't pay for Zoom, unfortunately. I've just found you can pay a tenner a month, but well, I'll get that sorted for the next one. But yes, again, sorry about that there, guys. We're going to jump straight back into it. We've obviously finished that Santa's very expensive, but we're going to jump into a subject now and basically talk about the purpose of a dad. So Robbie, kick us off there.
I think there's Marty, there's a couple of things, a couple of ways you can look at this. I mean, there's always the nature and the nurture. And obviously in all of us, there's a varying degree of nature and nurture. But I haven't had too many kids through, especially through the fostering and stuff, and had 2 kids of our own. I think the nurture is absolutely dominant. So whilst it's okay to maybe suggest that you pick up traits, that you have these genetically passed down trait to a certain extent of behavior or values or stuff, actually nature, the nurture, and what you're exposed to as a child is predominant in how you turn out as an adult. And I think for dads, that's really, really important to have at your absolute core as to what your ambitions are for your children. So I'm going to use an old-fashioned example here, but one I think is really, really, really important. So I was blessed, obviously, to have a boy and a girl, and Robin came first, the girl came first. And it has always been just intrinsic in me, not because I'm a great guy or anything, but it's always been intrinsic in me and how I treat her mum, how I treat Belinda.
particularly in front of the kids and particularly in front of Robin, because Robin's now 24, but all through her life, I didn't want Robin accepting any less of a partner, a husband, a boyfriend than what I think she is deserving of. And how you set the bar for that is how you behave as a husband, as a dad, as a father.
Yeah.
So if you are going to, if as a dad and a husband, or a dad and a boyfriend, you are going to mistreat either your wife or your family, what you're saying to your kids is, well, this is okay because this is what a man does.
Yeah.
Man just goes out on the rip at the weekend and comes home stinking drunk and demands their dinner and demands that, well, guess what? You see, if your daughter or your son ends up with a partner that does exactly the same, you're kind of responsible.
Yeah.
You're kind of responsible. So it's trying to set that standard of how you behave in the home, how you behave in your workplace, how you behave socially in your social circles, and that your kids will absorb that and kind of become that too. Yeah. It's setting the standard, Marty.
Yeah, mate, that's fantastic. Funny you should say that. It is. It's kind of, again, I suppose I've got a little lad, I have a stepson as well, and it is just kind of just instilling a bit of confidence into them for me, and for even where Alex is concerned, and trying to break that mold of what my dad was and stuff. And you're trying to go, right, I'll show them that it can be better. I'm hoping that all the sort of things that I go through mentally, all the tough battles and things, that it'll be sort of Alex is a clean slate. And one of the things for me that I can't remember speaking to my sister Leanne about this, that I really think is fantastic at being a dad. You really get to mold this little human being into sort of what you want them to be. And again, that comes back to what you're saying, showing them how to act, basically, and teaching them little ways and things like that. But for me, showing Alex that, there's more to life. And again, let's say when I left school, I wanted to join the army and become a mechanic. I'm basically a salesman now. I own a company,
Yes.
Yes. I went into mechanics when I left school. Mate, knew within a month.
The opportunities are there. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Again, looking at the psychology of it, you could, and it's kind of like the bit, Marty, where the in-between bit is the sweet spot. So if you think about a child, the father figure, right? And you go from one extreme to the other. You go from one extreme where you are you're no role model at all because you're not there, you're violent, you're always drunk, you take drugs, you're doing whatever, right?
Yeah.
That's setting a standard for that child, which is a road to disaster. Then if you go right to the other end of extreme, where you're a dad who thinks the world revolves around your wee Johnny or your wee Mary, and you let them off with everything, and you think they're this prodigy, that they're just this thing that's born that is going to change the world. That child ain't going to change the world. They're going to wreck the world. They're going to wreck people because they think the world revolves around them. Yes. So it's in the sweet spot where you will do enough to protect your kids. You'll fight their corner. You'll fight their corner, but you'll also let them scrape their knees and learn that, if a child's on a swing and they go up too high and they think they can jump off and not get hurt, you have to let them fall now and again. But also give them enough space to dream. Yeah,
big time.
I've never, I have no ambition for my son, for instance, to follow my footsteps, as in terms of, being a politician, being a firefighter, I want him to be successful in the things that he wants to pursue. And there will be opportunities, and I'll try and support him. And I hope that Robin and Adam I hope, if and when I expire or whatever, and they think back, well, what was Dad like? I genuinely hope that they think that I set a good example.
I think you have, if I'm honest. From what I've got to know you anyway, over the last sort of, 3 years, yeah, I'd definitely say you have.
Well, I appreciate that. The other thing to be careful of too, and I'm not saying this about myself, but what people let you see on the outside too is, and it's the people that are in the inside that know exactly what you're like. And I've been involved with a couple of charities, like Women's Aid, but more recently the men's support groups. Yeah. So what goes on in some people's houses is incredible that hidden to the outside too. But what I would say to all of those adults that are in relationships that are, toxic, caustic, whether it's physical or coercive control and all of that type of stuff, whether they're a man or woman who's suffering, is think of your kids. Think of what you're accepting, or think of what you're doing, and the example you are giving to the young people in your house, your kids. Or those people, maybe a stepson or stepdaughter, whatever, or as in my case, I've got the three family we've chosen now.
what standard am I setting? Whether you're the husband or the wife, from me and your perspective, what standard is the dad here? And I mean, I think I'm going to say this. I think your two kids are incredibly blessed, Marty, to have you.
Appreciate that.
Because I know what your values are, and I know what you aspire to be, not just in business, but as a dad and as a partner, too. And I would be very content if you were part of my family,
Appreciate that.
Genuinely, I think you're a top guy. And even doing these podcasts to talk to other dads and fathers and either support or challenge them is good. It's all good.
It's very important to get dads talking as well. I really think it is. And that's when I look back, as I said, the initial sort of, want to do this was, I never watched Loose Women, sounds daft, and this year. But again, we were in Brighton. I seen these ladies on a show just literally talking. I was like, is that all they do is have a conversation about subjects? Yeah. Then I thought about what the men have. Not that this is going to end up like a loose one or anything like that, but it's literally, there could be 20 people, as I said, there could be 100 people, 300 people, whatever it may be, that watch this and get something from it. As we done with Mind Your Pap, that's what it's all about. As long as somebody gets something from it, then we're winning, aren't we?
Marty, it's just normalizing it, because again, both of me and you've played football and football teams. I run a football team, and I know the pervasive thread of manliness in there was the guy who could drink the most, who could tackle the hardest, who could probably get up and square up to somebody and not walk away from a fight. And that was the measure of the man, right? And I'm thinking, that's not the measure of a man, really, because there's no legacy from that. There's no good actually comes from that. The legacy for me is like the one who has the most tolerance, the peacemaker. Bravery's in there too, because there's times when you do have to stand up for things. But more often than not, it's better just to turn your back on something and walk away from it, because you can't fix everybody or fix everything. I'm talking about confrontation, particularly here outside of the stuff that is unavoidable. And I mean, but what is good at the moment is there's a lot of people, like I was listening to Matthew McConaughey. So good actor, but actually some of his podcasts and some of his stuff is outstandingly good.
Very wise.
Jay Shetty, I've started listening to Jay Shetty's podcasts. Jay Shetty is, he runs the #1 mental health podcast in the world. He spent time as a monk. He's now, and I would say Jay has not said one thing that I disagree with at all. It's absolutely brilliant. And you've got men now sharing and challenging this toxic masculinity piece. It's not the biggest, hardest guy who can knock down walls. It's the biggest man. For me, the biggest man is the person who inspires and affects the most in a good way the people around him, and more particularly young people and their children.
100%.
That's the better man.
And it's different now. As you were, even just to relate where you're saying football, I've been in 2 dressing rooms, like again, the generation of the hard man, the drinker, the gambler. I'm not in a generation like where we've got kids coming through, they're 15, 16, 17. And each life, what the best thing you do was kind of whip them into shape. But then I've had a chat with my coach this year, and I've said, let's say this year about positivity, bringing these young lads on, because they're not like we were, like coming straight into that toxic sort of masculinity where you're in the changing room, right? Everybody's harder than everybody else, and it's not like that no more. It's definitely different, and it has to be a positive sort of look. People might say that's a snowflake approach, but for me it's not. It's just different times now, and we just have to adapt to that.
That's what the club say, mentality monsters, know. And so it is. And I said this isn't all going to be psychological, but actually the psychology of it is something you need to understand. I'll share this here. I don't know if this is any good or not, Marty. Okay. Because it doesn't directly relate to dads and fatherhood unless you deliberately make it so. So when I did my degree, it was in leadership and management. And if you ask me what was the best, most important thing that I did in that leadership and management degree, it was a piece in psychology, and it was the Myers-Briggs personality measurement tool. Okay, so what you do is you answer, say, 80 questions, and then it gives you your personality type. So I was like an ENTJ or something, right? So I'm empathetic, I am outgoing, I am whatever they were, right? Okay, but what was most important wasn't me knowing what sort of personality I had, because I kind of knew. What was important for me was to look at the other personality types and understand the other personality types, and then adjust myself, not try and change them, adjust myself to understand why they think like that, or why they may. So why do some people not like me? Well, I didn't know, but people may not like me because I'm energetic and chatty. People just don't like people. Do you know why? Because they're not chatty themselves and they don't need that. So it's helped me to understand maybe, well, there's some people that just won't get Robbie, or there's some people who won't get Marty, but that's okay. They've just got it. So rather than disliking you, they're just a different personality type. So I think, and again, this is for dads too, not all dads are going to be chatty.
Yeah.
Not all dads are going to be cuddly. Not all dads are going to be pushing fitness. Not all dads are going to be pushing business, right? That doesn't matter. It's because when you're in that role of being a dad or a father, as long as you are the best at what you can be, you channel the good stuff and get rid of the bad stuff. You channel the good stuff and don't try and be anything different than you are. You know,
fantastic.
And that's saying that the world is brilliant because we're all different.
Yeah.
And you just need to be the best dad you can be at the things that you have that are good. And if you've carried things through life that aren't good, maybe as a throwback to your own childhood and whatever, well then you can get help for that, you know, and be deliberate about not transmitting it through to your own kids too. Because obviously we've all got different backgrounds and different childhoods, and some people have more to contend with than others, you know.
Fantastic, Robbie. Do you know what? I think we'll end it on that note. It's a good message.
No problem, brother. Marty, it's been absolutely brilliant spending a bit of time. It's been way too long.
Likewise.
You know, and you know something? If had more time, and if had more time, see the things like Mind Your Bap and the Dad podcast, they're so valuable. More and more people are going to be tuning in and listening because they say stuff we're talking about. It doesn't age.
No, 100%. And as you said, it's different walks of life as well, isn't it? And that's the goal we're trying to achieve, where everybody's different and has different ways of parenting and different lives and things. So, no, I appreciate your time, Robbie, as always, and it's great catching up.
We'll try this one last time just to see if we can get it right.
Well, go ahead.
I'm Robbie.
I'm Marty.
We are
Mind Your Bap.
Mind Your Bap.
Top man, Robbie. Appreciate your time.
Bless you, bro. Have a good one.
Take it easy. You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Many thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed Robbie's episode. Don't forget to subscribe, but also give us a like and a share. Thank you.